Bron Breakker is officially on the shelf. The Masked Man is still stomping all over the Vision. AJ Lee is back, and the Elimination Chamber is finally starting to take shape. I'm Ian Christopher.
I'm Daniel Stockwell.
And welcome to the Smark-Casual Wrestling Podcast. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Elimination Chamber is just 2 weeks away, and this week the card has started to take shape with an announcement of 2 big title matches, which, of course, we will get into. No Sanjay with us this week as he's on holiday, so just me and you, Daniel. Let's start with the big news coming out of this week, I would say, regarding one Bron Breakker. So, was announced on Raw that he is injured. By all accounts, this is a legitimate shoot injury, shall we say. He's already, I believe, had surgery on some kind of hernia, and the wording on Raw is that he's out indefinitely. So this obviously throws quite the spanner in the works as to what they were maybe planning to do with Bron, the Vision, a Masked Man. What were your thoughts when you heard the news? What do you think?
My initial thought was just how unlucky. They were really unlucky to have Seth go down when they did, which obviously expedited the turning of Breakker and him becoming the focal point of the Vision. To lose Bron as well, like right when he's the heart of it, I feel like it could be a final nail in the coffin.
I hate to say that I feel pretty similar myself.
And it's a shame because I think there was hope there. And I think there probably is still things you can do. But I think it might just be better if, you can still keep Bron and Bronson together as like mates who are always helping each other. Oh, you need a tag partner? Great, I've got Bron. Great, I've got Bronson. You can still keep Heyman with Breakker. Maybe it's just the right time now to quietly move away from it. You can still have all the singles feuds and let Division stuff inform those singles feuds, but I think maybe just move along. What's your option?
Well, Logan out of the group is, if we're talking WrestleMania, I would say let's presume for the sake of argument that this injury has come at such a bad time. It's now too late to talk about Bron Breakker and WrestleMania plans. It seems to be that it might be very cutting it fine with Seth and Mania, although I understand was more borderline, or is maybe still more borderline as to whether or not he'll be fit by April. But yeah, you said unfortunate. Like the word that came to my mind was snake bit. Like this whole thing it seemed like one thing after another. I think that despite Unreal sprinkling its stardust over the whole injury angle that they did with Cessny, I don't think that went over half as well as they wanted it to, if you see what I mean. A huge amount of the audience knew that was the wool being pulled over our eyes. Then, of course, he gets legit injured just weeks afterwards, which leads to a whole boy who cried wolf kind of situation. And now, just when Bron is, as you said, like right at the crest of this wave, he goes and injures himself as well.
I don't think you could keep it going, but it's like I said last week. I think Logan Paul was always an odd choice for me. To have him continue it, maybe as like a new leader, it feels odd already. Just saying it. So if that's my mindset, I don't think I'd want to see. But the fact that I don't want to see it means we probably are going to see it. So.
Well, it certainly seems to be that way, and based on Raw on Monday, they aren't doing away with the whole Adam Pearce factor in this feud. I have to say that Adam Pearce, since I had my little rant a few weeks ago, he has been slightly less shouty and therefore slightly less insufferable. But it seemed to be that they were building to a Bron Breakker, Adam Pearce thing, which obviously now is gone, which I'm thankful for. But yeah, I think Bron is the one I feel for most, because I went down a little train of thought earlier today, and I thought, well, okay, let's say a hernia. We don't want to speculate, but you're talking weeks, I think, at the very least. Let's say with the best will in the world that he's back just after WrestleMania. Then you've got a situation, and part of me thought, well, this could be good. Bron Breakker can have a big post-Mania comeback, probably as a babyface, because that's what happens when we miss certain people, is that they get a babyface reaction when they return. Look at Liv Morgan as a recent example. But then I thought, oh, that's so sad, because it was only the night after WrestleMania just gone that Bron Breakker had his big post-WrestleMania thing, and he's going to be right back, not at square one, but certainly back at the square that he was last spring. And he'd gotten to the point where we were talking about him genuinely as a WrestleMania
main event up.
Yes, yeah, and of course I still think he's young enough and has enough in the tank and enough passion, it seems, for it, that definitely still seems like it's in his future. But what a kick in the teeth to basically lose a whole year of his career to this vision experiment that I think ultimately we'll look back on as a failed one, not necessarily through the fault of the booking, although it hasn't always been great.
Well, I think that's a little bit wrong, actually. I think for the first 6 months or so, the booking was really questionable. And it was only when Seth got kicked out, really, or actually probably from about SummerSlam, that it really started getting momentum, because the Brons were really good together as a tag faction.
Yeah, and I agree that they definitely still could be. I definitely think there's still juice in that.
For a long time, it didn't feel main event enough. And it was only when really Seth took that world title, and then obviously Bron moved into that picture after him, that it really started to feel like a main event scene or a main event act. And it's a concern that if they bring Breakker back after Mania, are you going to fall back into that post-Mania slight slump?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they will as much this year. You know, I already mentioned last week about the sort of the Cena effect.
I was just thinking of Mr. Cena, yeah.
Because, you know, you had to put him into so much that it sort of limited what you could do elsewhere.
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
Obviously, you know, the Jey Uso experiment was it was an awkward time for both, really. And then the vision coming up through that wasn't really ideal, to say the least.
No, I think you just listing there the Vision and John Cena and Jey Uso, that main event scene was very weak for quite a long time.
It doesn't sound weak on paper. I keep hearing it a lot. Oh, he doesn't know how to book. What a terrible year he had. And it's like, hold on. Like, I mean, he's been unfortunate. Admittedly, I think there was some poor choices in the Cena run. And the Jey Uso thing, like, I don't hold that against him at all. It's such an odd sort of position to find yourself in. Like, you've got to really book this strong champion in Cena. But he's taken a massive risk on someone like Uso. It didn't work out, and he didn't have the people to feud with other than Gunther.
No, and I think that in Jey Uso's case specifically, I think that he was a gamble that was worth taking, because he had the momentum, he had the crowd in the palm of his hands. And I would actually say that what happened there is that Triple H gave him the ball and Jey dropped it.
Maybe, yeah.
The fact is, he has dropped it. I think even just this week on Raw, I was reminded of how far the Usos' stock has fallen. I still enjoyed their match with Alpha Academy. I actually really did enjoy it, but there were moments of just Oh, and then the end of the match where Jimmy is saying, "Go on, Jay, go and qualify for the chamber," and I'm thinking, no, you've just admitted defeat on that
Yeah.
singles push, put them back together as a tag team, and now what are you doing back? No, don't stay out
You
of the
make
chamber.
you make Jimmy look like a bit of a punk as well. And
Right.
it's like, but I don't know. I mean, hindsight's a glorious thing. In hindsight, maybe Seth Rollins should have just come out and beaten Jey Uso the Monday night after Raw, but that didn't happen. Eventually they took it off and give it to Gunther. I think we can all agree that it didn't pan out how probably a lot of us were hoping.
No.
So yeah, between going back to the vision, I think between everything that was going on, it was a rough 6 months, and then injury.
You described it as that first bit, them not feeling very main event, and then after
Yeah.
Seth's injury, they started to. And what I find really interesting about that is that the presentation of the vision with Seth was, this is the main event. This is the only thing we want you to talk about in the show. We're going to bookend the show with the vision in the opening seg and the main event seg. And it wasn't landing for us, and it didn't feel authentic. And then Seth goes away. Bron is now the front-facing one of the vision. And they kind of not reduced their role, but they kind of placed them better, I think, in the shows. They weren't presenting them as, here's your main event, here's your main event, here's your main event. They were almost upper mid-carders, although that's how I perceived them for a time. And I thought that was a good fit and made them feel more like, okay, Bron's got something here. They can give Bron the mic for 10 minutes in the middle of a Raw. They're not asking him to close the show. Have the mic, Bron, and cut your promo, which was, I think, a few weeks before the Rumble.
To your point, a really great example of that is Bronson Reed beating Reigns in Australia. He felt like a big deal at the time. And the vision felt like a bigger deal for it. And then, obviously, I feel like Reed's stock has drifted a little bit, partly due to Logan Paul being introduced and then Austin Theory.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think both Bron and Bronson are really exciting characters. And without Seth, it forced you to go, oh, they're now going to be forced to put these two young guys that we really admire and really have higher hopes for in that main event picture. And they did. They started diluting it again with, multiple members. And I always thought that post Seth, they should have just stuck with the two Brons.
I can't believe they didn't strap them up. I can't believe that Bron and Bronson didn't get a tag title run when, okay, they were defended on Raw just recently, and they seem to be maybe reigniting the division with the Usos, but there were months and months and months of, was it War Raiders were champs and then New Day were champs? They were just gone, or they were in ad breaks. You've got two belts there that you can use as this test run for, okay, what do we think of Bron and Bronson as tag champs? Such a missed opportunity. And yeah, it will be interesting to see when Bron does come back, what's the direction then? And I guess that all depends on the length of time he's going to be out, which we don't know yet.
I hope they just slightly move away from it. I'm happy for them to use the vision to inform singles feuds. Like if Logan Paul come out and said, "Oh, he's injured because I did it. Yeah, I eliminated him from the Rumble, and then I injured him last week," I'd be happy with that.
Yeah.
Boom. That's the end of the vision.
Yeah.
You could have a little Logan and Bronson feud if you like. Have a Logan and Bron feud. Sorry, too many Brons.
Too many Bs.
And that will be fine. If this is going to be the beginning of the end for the vision, which I highly expect it to be, how unfortunate is Austin Theory?
I was gonna say, and I'm laughing because I've never really got it with Austin Theory, but like he's maybe the biggest victim here.
Like you've just done a full repackage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone was really taking him seriously, but
we certainly weren't.
No, it's just like I feel like he's been really unfortunate for, particularly since McMahon left. This felt like a new step in the right direction. And I think if it is the end, he's really going to struggle.
I think he's in trouble, and it's difficult. I don't ever want to be someone who's guilty of like advocating for someone losing their job. We're heading towards release season. It seems like always. I would not be surprised to see several names on that list who are not being used well, and if the Vision does disband quietly, as you say, then I would really think that his name might come up. But I actually think the reason I bring that up is that I do think that could be really positive for him, for his career. I think he's got a similar kind of potential in my eyes to a Drew McIntyre, who left and went away for years and reinvented himself and worked and worked and worked and worked and then came back like a different person.
It's interesting you say that, because I never understood. I liked Drew. I never really understood him in his first run. And I think at the time, he potentially looked too young. Whereas once he come back, he looked more grizzled and he looked more battle hardened. Maybe that's all Theory needs to do. Go away for 5 years or 6, 7 years, age a little bit.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, in WWE, they like 40-plus-year-old guys. And I assume Theory's only, like 27, 20?
Certainly, yeah. But then he runs the risk of, as you say, like it didn't really click with Drew to begin with. Austin's been in that kind of vein for ages, hasn't he? And it feels like he's been a young up-and-comer now for years, to the point where you have to kind of say, is he still a young up-and-comer?
The only other thing is, where does he go? Like, he's not going to go to TNA because there's too many links with WWE these days, but he could perhaps. It doesn't feel like AEW would probably. Maybe they would. I don't know.
The blueprint is there with a Matt Cardona as well, isn't there? Of someone who I think Cardona only ever popped up on AEW and specifically a couple of times. Otherwise, he was the king of the indies. I just looked it up. Austin Theory is 28 years old, so he's been on our screens for a long time, from a very young age. So it's not over for him by any means, but he could be a casualty if the Vision does disband. I will just briefly touch on the masked attacker before we leave the Vision behind. He obviously got involved in Austin Theory's triple threat match with LA Knight and Penta, which LA Knight won to qualify for the Chamber. I'm sure we'll get on to Chamber stuff shortly, but the interesting thing I thought with the Masked Man, and the word interesting is doing quite a lot of heavy lifting there because I'm already kind of fed up with it, but the Masked Man was chased off by Austin Theory, obviously. Logan Paul came and chased him off, which I remember speaking about last week as being maybe my guess for who was under the mask. What do you think? Do you care?
I think it's Bronson Reed in a corset.
That is a powerful corset. I heard Grayson Waller, which just made me put my head in my hands, because Austin Theory was meh enough, and now if Grayson Waller turns out to be another addition, nail in coffin is saying the least.
We're saying, how bad do you feel for Austin Theory? If it turns out to be Waller being connected with it, then you start going, Jesus, I actually feel bad for Bronson Reed and Logan Paul and Paul Heyman. Then straight away, it's just it. I mean, I like both guys. I really like Grayson Waller as well.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been a sucker for him. I think the Australian connection, and my wife likes him as well. Like, every time she's watched him, there's certain things that he does that she'll sort of smile away at.
I think he's got good wrestling comedy chops, which is why I thought the pairing of him and the New Day was a really fun idea. It's just that they've done absolutely nothing with it. And so if they were to pull the trigger on trying to do something serious with Grayson Waller, I don't think anyone would buy it at all, really.
We keep saying, hopefully it sort of quietly dies off.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it's going to be the case. So.
No, indeed. But we can certainly kill off our conversation about the matter and move on to other things.
Just one last thing before we do move on. My theory was that it was going to be Seth all along.
That's
And
right. I remember. Yeah.
they don't have to sort of say, oh, well, he was injured in the presentation of it straight away. But he's been injured for so long. How's he been coming out doing curb stomps to everyone? Why do you care? The story is that he's been coming out and curb stomping everyone. So the question now, which we'll see over time, is if he is okay for Mania, who's his opponent going to be?
That's a difficult one, isn't it?
Logan?
Yeah, I mean, it could be. Obviously, their storyline plan would have been long term to have Seth and Bron Breakker, as Bron being the one who took him out. I wonder if at this point, I know we're not like right on the eve of WrestleMania. There's still another PLE to come between now and then, but I think at this point, multi-man tag match, and get if Seth is back, then you have Logan and Bronson and Austin Theory, and Seth gets himself two big time partners to take them on. It's not going to main event either night. It's going to be a filler match, but it's got enough in it to get on the card at least.
I just had a thought though. What about they use this for Seth to effectively take control of the division again, for then Bron Breakker to come back and challenge him? So we all expected it to be Seth coming back and going, how dare you, you screwed me, and rah, rah, rah. But now that Bron Breakker's injured, it's forced us to do the flip of that or the reverse of that. So then you've got Seth in the division against Breakker.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder what the dynamics would be there, like face heel wise. But
there's so much with division. It's, you know, we've spent nearly 25 minutes talking.
25 minutes just on the vision. Sorry, everyone.
But no. It's an interesting theme, and I think they've been such a focal point of the last sort of year. It really makes a difference, and there's so many pieces to it as well. Maybe that is how they look at it. We can't just throw it away. We've put too much time and effort into it.
I think that's certainly what they will think. I don't think they will just quietly take it out back and old yeller it, but we shall see. So sorry for that vision, so to speak. Raw was quite eventful in other ways, not just in the vision sense, because we actually now have more of a match card taking shape for Elimination Chamber. AJ Lee came back. She was unannounced, unadvertised. She comes back. Becky Lynch goes absolutely apeshit and comes out and does her best pantomime villain at this point. And AJ Lee comes and goads her into putting the Intercontinental title on the line at Elimination Chamber. I thought their promo was really fun. I like that there is variety in what I watch. I don't want everything to be really earnest and scenery chewing seriousness and grit and da 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 da. I really liked the delivery of it, both from Becky being really OTT panto villain. AJ Lee, I think, was more comfortable on the mic than the last time we saw her, which stands to reason because she'd been gone for a decade. I'm looking forward to the match. I am a bit shocked that they're putting it on at Chamber rather than saving it for WrestleMania. But what did you think?
I really liked it. I thought Becky again was just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Even just a little snippet of her walking behind AJ and Punk.
I'm glad you brought it up.
What the hell is she doing here? I'm going out to the ring, and I was just like, such a great little moment. And I was already smiling at that point. And yeah, it was a bit OTT at times, but I feel like it really worked with Becky, and I really liked it. I feel like I liked AJ, but there were times where the energy didn't match what Becky was giving. That's the only sort of minor complaint I'd have. Other than that, it was a hell of a lot of fun. Not a surprise to me that they've announced the match for Chamber because it's in Chicago, and I think she's going to get a massive pop. I think it might even outdo Punk.
You reckon?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if, she gets a really good pop. I do understand what you're saying about why are they doing it at Chamber and not Mania. But then my thought was maybe AJ doesn't take the title
Okay.
because I imagine that, and this goes for her and her husband, I can imagine them not liking part-timers who are never going to defend. Punk
Right.
made a career out of it effectively. His most iconic moment, he's calling out part-timers who are never there.
Mm-hmm.
So I can imagine there'd be something where they're both of them are saying, I don't think it's right taking this title and not being there to defend it. That said, if it's happening at Chamber, I wouldn't be surprised if she wins and then you do the rematch so Becky can win it back at Mania. Yeah. I don't feel like AJ is going to be a long-term acquisition, for lack of a better term.
No, I certainly agree in terms of this iteration of AJ Lee. I think that the pops she is getting are earnest, but they are still very much, we've missed you so much. Like she was a bright spot in a very dark time for women's wrestling.
Yeah.
But I wonder how much that level of pop would sustain if she were to do a sustained run. I think what I find quite interesting is you watch the show with my wife, who's a very, very recent against her will wrestling fan, had no prior experience of who AJ Lee was, either as a character, the fact that she was married to Punk, any of the mental health stuff that she's done. She just saw this woman come out and skip to the ring, and of course the crowd were going mental, but my wife's first words were like, wow, she looks really smug. She's got a really smug kind
She was always a great heel.
But this is it, you see, and I think that's kind of where I'm going, is that I think if she were to be, as you put it, a longer term acquisition, is that I could see that being the case as a heel. I don't quite know how you get there, but her energy really lends itself to that kind of smug, aloof. Maybe then that could be like, well, I'm taking this title and yeah, I am a part-timer. Thank you very much.
I wouldn't be surprised if she's just a special attraction going forward. She'll pop up a few times every year.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with that. I think there's matches that I'd like to see her have, her and Roxanne as an example, because I feel like they could gel quite nicely. You could do something with her and Maxine eventually, just because of the obvious, and maybe Natty as well.
Well, you mentioned those two, and that's my next thought really was, as I said, when they announced it for Chamber, I was kind of like, oh, okay, I have that nailed on my WrestleMania card, is that you finally do Becky AJ Lee singles. But then, of course, AJ Lee got involved in the Maxine Natty non-match that happened. And, of course, Becky got involved in that, in AJ Lee's helping of that. So do you put them on WrestleMania as a fatal four-way for the IC? Because then you've got Becky's history with Maxine and AJ. You've got AJ's history with Maxine. You've got Natty in the mix as well. I don't know, with that many moving parts, how good the match would be.
You could do a tag match, I suppose, like a featured tag match.
Becky and Natty and AJ and Maxine. Yeah, that might be a safer bet.
It might just be something where AJ's kind of like Becky was talking in Unreal. I want to get new stars on the mat. Maybe AJ's going, okay, look, it didn't work, but let's just have another match so that she can progress and people are liking it. So I wouldn't be surprised if she's probably thinking, let's have a run with Maxine. Natty's an easy one because she knows she's probably going to get a really good match out of her. And they've got history as well. So
out of AJ Lee?
Yeah, her and Natty. So yeah, I think that could be really nice. I kind of like the idea of a fatal four-way. I don't really want to see Maxine back in that picture.
He's not here right now, but I can hear Sanjay from his holiday home sitting up and going, no, get her off my screen.
Maybe you don't have her. Maybe you have the triple threat with AJ as a champion, and then Becky saying, I want my title back, and then Natty going, well, hold on, I've just beaten a former champion. I've beaten AJ for the women's title before. I eliminated you from the Rumble. I feel like I should get involved, and AJ's getting involved in my business. I'd probably be a bit more keen on a triple threat and then Maxine to the side.
Yeah, I'd be
Yeah.
a lot more keen on a
Seems like
triple
triple
threat.
threats are the thing this year, though. So I don't know.
Certainly looking that way, isn't it? And I think every time we've had some sort of qualifying for something recently,
Yeah,
they've never done
triple threat.
qualifying one-on-one. It's all triple threats or fatal four-ways.
I suppose that's a nice segue into the Punk and Bálor stuff, because I keep hearing things. I think it's silly, but I keep seeing things where they're like, "Oh, maybe it's going to be Punk, Roman, and Finn at Mania in a triple threat," and I'm like, who thinks that? I don't think that's going to be the case at all.
Saw a similar screenshot doing the rounds on one of these engagement bait Facebook posts, and I just thought, yeah, I don't see that at all. And I say that as someone who I've always been high on Finn Bálor. I really love that they're giving him a shot, even as just a sort of transitional feud to get Punk to WrestleMania. I think they have a really, really difficult job on their hands, because to use the recent example of us being shocked that they pulled the title switch from Cody to Drew, I think we were all going into that match thinking, oh, there's maybe a 5 to 10% chance that Drew gets it. And we were, of course, delighted that he did. I think with Finn and Punk at the Chamber, there's a much smaller chance even than that.
When they announced it, my mind went back to last year when they did the last minute switch to Io from Rhea.
Yes.
And then it ended up being a triple threat between them two and Belair. And I was thinking, oh, are they going to do that again? I don't think they will, not with Punk and Roman.
2 years in a row as well. I mean, last year we got a little taste of Punk and Roman with Seth thrown in. And I remember some of the chat around then being like, oh, why isn't this a one-on-one? Either a Roman Seth match or a Roman Punk match. I don't see them pulling the triple threat trigger with this match, at least.
The promo between Punk and Bálor was excellent. Bálor was getting some really good responses as well from the crowd. And I actually think Adam Pearce did his job really well, because people were really disliking him. And then as a result, they were liking Finn more. So if they can keep sort of building on that, I think it's a good way to go. I don't know if that leads to Finn and Dom or something else.
I think Finn and Dom, see, this is really tricky, because I think they have awakened something. I don't know whether it's they've awakened something in Finn, or whether they've awakened something in the crowd towards Finn, or a bit of both. I think the crowd are waiting to cheer Finn Bálor. I think there is a big babyface run waiting there to be had. And if you put him against Dom, which would storyline-wise be the most sensible thing for Finn to realise, hang on a minute, I don't need the Judgment Day. The problem is Dom's so bloody popular that is Finn going to end up like as the de facto heel, because we all just love Dominic Mysterio so much?
I don't think he will. I think, and it goes back to something I said a while back. I always remember a guy getting interviewed outside of a WWE event, and he turned around and said, I love Bálor because he makes me feel like a kid watching wrestling again.
Yes.
Just an excitement about him. You can't help but really enjoy him when he's on it.
When he's on it, absolutely. He's locked in at the moment as well, which I've been really excited by.
And it makes such a difference with the music. I think the music has made a massive difference.
I think he was the biggest victim of Death Rebel. I think I said that last week maybe as well. But like his Death Rebel music was dreadful.
Jordan Grace is another one who I'm just seeing get no pop whatsoever at the moment because the music's crap. And it's like, man, that music was awesome. Why are you changing it? No, I'm looking forward to another Punk and Bálor match. I think it'll be really good. Both guys are really good. Both guys feel really on point at the moment.
I don't know if you've seen Roman's schedule has been kind of released for his dates that he's going to do between now and WrestleMania. I think basically he isn't going to be on the show at all until after the Chamber. which, there's Punk's next promo for him is, where have you been, mate? I've been defending my title against Finn Balor. Part of me wishes they'd held off the Mania match announcement. I understand why they did it, of course, but there is this idea of like, okay, we're announcing the WrestleMania World Title match the night after the Royal Rumble, and now we're expected to buy into any kind of jeopardy with CM Punk defending his title. It's that bit I think is a shame, but I still think that, what I was saying earlier is that situation sets Punk and Balor a really high bar in terms of engaging us and entertaining us. And here we are talking about how engaged we were on Monday and how entertained we were. So I think they're both absolutely smashing it. So those are the two non-chamber matches that have been announced for the PLA. We've got two participants in both the men's and the women's at the moment, that being Randy Orton and LA Knight for the men, Tiffany Stratton and Rhea Ripley for the women. I don't really want to talk about the chambers right at this moment, though, because I think what might be nicer is if we talk about the triple threat qualifiers that are coming up, which I think give the chamber much more anticipation and excitement.
There's only one, though, isn't there?
Only one triple threat.
There's only one triple threat that anyone's interested in at the moment. I want to see what they do. I'm really enjoying it. Everything from that night, Drew and Cody in the 3 stages of hell, Jacob's return, the brawl between them at Saturday night's main event.
My word, yeah.
Even the Cody and Jacob Rumble interactions weren't as good as the Saturday night main event stuff, but the Drew kick was like, oh man.
That we didn't talk about it when we were sort of reviewing the Rumble, but that Cody elimination I thought was really lovely.
Great. And last week on SmackDown, I just really loved the fact that all of them are just fighting. You know that Cody and Jacob are going to go balls to the wall against each other. And then the fact that they're still attacking Drew quite heavily, it's just so much fun to watch. The Cody and Drew feud's been going on for months.
It has, through the winter lull.
Yeah, right. We said that it was really dull, and it just didn't hit that next gear. All they've done really is add Jacob to it, and suddenly it feels just so good.
I've just loved it, and I really like that the dynamic of SmackDown was Drew trying to come out and say something, and then Cody's battering him, so he has to run, and then he goes, okay, I'll try and come out later in the show. And here's Jacob. You've got all these moving parts, and I think it feels really alive and really vital. And for the listener who isn't aware that the triple threat match we're talking about is on SmackDown, Cody Rhodes versus Jacob Fatu versus Sami Zayn. Poor Sami Zayn. I mean, we talked about poor Austin too. Poor Sami Zayn now feels like a little bit of an afterthought.
I don't think it is going to be poor Sami Zayn. I think Sami's going to win it.
See, I was about to ask, how do they get around Cody and Jacob being in this triple threat?
I think they just go balls to the wall again on each other. And I wouldn't be surprised if Sami's just sitting in the corner watching it all. And then when it finally gets to the ring, he just hits a couple of Alugava kicks and boom, pins them and just goes, you were too focused on each other that you completely forgot about me. I'd be really happy with that. And I think it wouldn't make Sami look bad. It wouldn't make the other two look bad. And then you just find a way to move on and get the 3 of them together. And it could just be as simple as Aldous coming out and saying, you 3 want to tear each other apart. I'm going to let you do it. Mania, the 3 of you, let's end this once for all.
I think the only wrinkle in that plan, which I do enjoy and could see, would be that you then presumably would have a men's chamber happening where the winner goes on to face Drew. So you'd have another moving part. I mean, I don't know, does Drew get involved in the triple threat to try and take Cody and Jacob out, and then maybe that's where Aldous comes in and says, no, I'm going to stick Cody and Jacob in the chamber. Like, Sami wins, fair enough, but Cody and Jacob are in as well. They have a tricky path to navigate to believably get to the triple threat. that we want to see.
Yeah, so it's going to be more of a SmackDown heavy. Who else is in there? Randy Orton, LA Knight.
Gunther, don't forget Gunther.
Don't think Gunther's going to be in the title picture at Mania.
No, I don't either, but maybe that was wishful thinking.
I do
on
see
my
your
part.
point though. Like, how do you get to it without one of them in the chamber and winning it?
I mean, a crazy thought. Do they take the title off Drew? I don't know who the hell they put it on, but do you then have Drew and Cody and Jacob be this non-title triple threat that burns the house down because they've all, the three of them, cost each other the thing they want most? But that is an even more convoluted path to something at WrestleMania. The biggest thing I hope to just end on Drew versus Cody versus Jacob, which I think is certainly where you and I want it to go. Have it be a triple threat street fight. I know triple threats are always no DQ, but I really want them to emphasize this is going to be carnage. This is going to be everything that Roman Punk is not. And I think these three, Drew especially, actually, could have a real chip on their shoulder about the promo that was cut between Punk and Roman, because it wasn't necessarily a full-on burial of Drew, but it was like, oh yeah, you could take the easy option and go and get Drew, or you could come for me.
The other option is, and I think it would work considering the animosity between the three of them, you could have Aldous turn around and say, I'm sick and tired of the three of you destroying everything. I'm going to put you in Hell in a Cell.
Love it. Yeah.
And I'd be more than happy for the three of them to go. And you know they're going to get out of the cage anyway.
Yes. Yeah. My God, what would Jacob Fatu do in or on or off a cell? Like, my God. Yeah.
A Hell in a Cell with those three as a main event of Mania just sounds mouth-watering. Probably more so than a street fight. A street fight, I can just sort of go, yeah.
Street fight is a bit more SmackDown main event, isn't it?
Yeah, but Hell in a Cell, because our last Hell in a Cell was during Punk, and it really did a lot for making the Hell in a Cell feel important again.
Yes.
So to then take it effectively into a main event spot at Mania with a really hot feud, I think you're doing a lot of good for the Hell in a Cell as a match.
Yes.
And what a sexy match that would be if that happened.
Yeah, I now will be disappointed if I don't see exactly that. We also have on SmackDown, I'm not quite sure how we're going to hype this one up as much, because we've got Alexa Bliss versus Julia versus Zelina Vega for qualifying for the Women's Chamber.
That's a strange one, because initially I thought Julia would probably be the one going in based on those three. But Alexa's Alexa. If Charlotte gets in the match as well, then they'll probably have some interaction with one another. I don't know. It doesn't really interest me massively, but I'm more sort of curious as to who fills out the slots. So who's we got Rhea so far.
Rhea and Tiffany. And
then you'll probably have Io, Charlotte. Maybe you have Alexa.
There is another women's triple threat announced for Raw, which doesn't involve any of the names you've just said.
Who's in that one?
It looks like we are also going to have Bayley or Asuka or Natty. Now, I would say out of the three of them that you put Asuka in the chamber. And I think this speaks to a wider problem with one of the women's titles. I know that she hasn't declared yet, and they teased something with Liv on SmackDown when she had a promo with Jade. I think it seems to me, at least, that Liv is going to go after Stephanie Vaquer. So one of your women's title matches is Liv and Stephanie, which I think has got real potential to be really great for both of them.
I think it's funny, like you said before, about how you think it might be to the detriment of announcing Punk and Roman early, but I actually think it might work to its advantage if you announce Stephanie and Liv now and just get it out of the way with.
I think they almost need to, because I'm starting to feel really blasé, for want of a better word, about the SmackDown women's title picture, because Jade, for so long I was thinking, well, Jade's just going to have it until Bianca comes back. And now it's starting to look like Bianca might not even make it back for WrestleMania, which I obviously hope she will. And if she is, that's absolutely, for my money, the only match you make. If Jade is still going to be your champion, it's Jade and Bianca. And if Bianca's not coming back, then I just have this real kind of heavy, like, what the hell do you do with the WWE Women's Championship? Because I don't think Jade and Jordynne Grace is that hot.
No, Jordynne Grace in general isn't. It's weird.
You mentioned it earlier. She's getting not Zelina Vega levels of anti-pop, but there's not a lot going on there. There wasn't a lot going on in the Rumble. There doesn't seem to be much fire there really at all.
Something's happened, and I don't know, but she was such a hot commodity last year.
She was so big in TNA. She was one of those few cases where you could think, okay, bring her in and don't put her in NXT. Bring her in and put her straight in the main roster. Maybe that is part of it. I don't know.
But even in NXT, she had a great little feud with Blake Monroe, and Jade hasn't defended her title at all.
No.
And
it's
then,
been 100 days, I think. I read somewhere.
Yeah,
100 days. And
probably
she's not
more than
defended
that
it once.
now.
Yeah.
But it's like, Jade hasn't defended her title. You're bringing in Jordan, who's unlikely to dethrone her on the first title defense. And obviously, in her first sort of notable match, she's unlikely to win it. So I think it's kind of, they've set her up to lose. And I think the crowd, maybe that's what it is. The crowd have basically said, you've been brought in to be a loser. I like Jordynne Grace a lot, but I don't think it's done her any favors. She should have been coming up and squashing people like Oba Femi.
Who I was really disappointed wasn't on Raw. I really liked his little vignette, but I was like, just give me more Oba smashing people, because he's already gotten over with the main roster crowd by giving him these little. They don't have to be long. They're literally, by definition, not long. 2-3 minutes, done. And so there's they have figures on their women's roster that can eat those pins. You know?
Just put her up against some of the big girls. Nia Jax, and it's a bit risky because you don't want to make Legend look too bad, but it's a shame Piper Niven isn't there. But like,
I wonder what.
Yeah, like put her up against some of them girls.
Do you remember Ryback's first push, where it wasn't? They weren't even named. They were like local jobber number 3 or whatever. But the interesting thing about it was there was 2 of them, and Ryback could lift them both. I bet Jordynne Grace could lift up 2 women, like, and that kind of visual, like, holy shit, that could start getting her more over. I guess, I don't know.
I really like Jordan. I just feel like, I don't know, maybe she should have gone to Raw. I feel like her and the Judgment Day would have been a nice fit. It's just finding that balance with Jade as champion has proven really hard.
You can say the same for both championships, actually, in the SmackDown Women's Division, because we've talked at length previously about the US title picture there.
I think you could say the same about Stephanie Vaquer. Stephanie had nice little holding feuds to then get to the 2 juicy Judgment Day feuds. So I think if Liv beats her at Mania, you're going to look back and say, she had a pretty good little run. She had a little feud with Nikki, and she had a little feud here. You know, the Raquel feud was great. It ended in a really fun match, and then that's fed into what should be a Liv feud. I will say one thing. I wasn't really getting into it that much until the very last section, and Liv turned around and just called her a putter. And I just sort of went, I laughed about it, but it was Vaquer's response to it, sort of, how dare you say that?
She crossed the line there, yeah.
Yeah, I know people have sort of said, I don't think she was supposed to say that, and it actually pissed her off. I doubt it.
I think she was just good acting. I know we're not used to seeing very much good acting on WWE TV, but I thought she was just selling it.
I've got a friend from El Salvador, and he loves using that word as an example. But he just sort of says, he goes, you know, you kind of get it quite often, but it is that sort of thing of, how dare you say that to me? So yeah, I hope that just from that one little word, you get the courage, just come out and go, you have the gall to come out and speak my language and use an insult at me. That's it. I'm going to demolish you. And
Yeah.
then you've got Dom in the middle of them.
Oh, I
Great.
was just going to say, Dom, like Liv saying, what did she say? And him going, I don't want to tell you. I'm not going to tell. I just, Dom, it's like, he's got this really understated comedy,
Yeah.
coward energy, which I absolutely love. I just wonder with, talking about Raquel and Stephanie's feud ending in such a cool way. And of course, we've got the little storyline detail of Liv being the one that eliminated Raquel, and they keep on going towards this elephant in the room, and they're not really talking about it because someone else comes out or whatever. I just wonder, do you add Raquel or even Raquel and Roxanne into the mix and go, okay, Stephanie versus the Judgment Day, but it's a fatal four-way. And then you start to get the falling apart of there's these three who are close as anything, but actually only one of them can win.
I think that just gets a bit too convoluted. Going back to what we said earlier, there's one too many triple threats happening at the moment.
I was going to say I'm on a multi-person binge here at the moment because there's so bloody many of them. What do you do with them?
I feel like there'll just be like more and more little things that Liv does, particularly as she becomes champion, that will get under the skin of Raquel, and then that'll be a turning feud, for lack of a better term. The expectation is that Liv's going to be the one turning face. I think she's such a good heel, though, that why? And then Raquel is cool. Like the big sexy is really working for her.
It
and
really works.
I think you could turn her face and just
Definitely.
go, you know what? I'm going to slap you up.
Yep.
Because I can.
Yeah.
I think that's a nice feud. So
yeah,
I would probably hold off until she's champion.
I think there is a real case with Raquel, especially of how much you can see that her confidence has grown as being a heel in the Judgment Day. I think is so good for people to have a really long, sustained run of being a heel, because when the babyface does come, it's not like we're being forced this babyface down our throat. It's like, oh yeah, we've been waiting to cheer you on. So yeah, maybe that's a post-Mania direction to come.
I think there's still a bit of time to come for Raquel till we get to that I'm ready to cheer for you. Like Liv's already at that point.
Yeah.
But she's so good at what she does that you could just keep her doing what she's doing. And particularly with Dom there to help elevate everything that she does. It's why bother? Like keep her in the role that she's excelling at. Like,
yes. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Speaking of Dom, he's the only other note I've got on my list here is that Dom is actually going to be fairly busy on Raw next week because he's in an Elimination Chamber qualifying triple threat match against Javon Evans and Gunther. And I saw those three names and I thought, hello, I'm really interested in that.
That's a really good little lineup, actually.
The dynamic mix there, I think, I can't wait for.
Gunther's going to look like a beast.
Mm-hmm. And I think Dominic's going to sell it. I think Dominic is going to be out of that ring and you're going to get a lot of Gunther and Javon, who's your plucky underdog. And Gunther and Javon had a great match in Cena's tournament. And so I could see a lot of Gunther and Javon and a lot of cowardly Dominic Mysterio trying to avoid getting involved. I can't call who wins, really. I mean,
I think it's Gunther.
I think it is Gunther, yeah.
But then, is it Gunther in the chamber?
Well,
you can't beat Gunther in the chamber.
No. And I felt this strange chill almost because he had his backstage segment, did Gunther, where he said, I should have had my WrestleMania moment should be set already because I beat Goldberg and I beat Cena and I beat AJ, but it's fine. It'll start at the chamber and then I'm coming for the WWE title. And I hadn't heard those words come out of Gunther's mouth before. And I heard him say it and went, oh, wow. Okay.
Maybe we were saying earlier about how if Cody and Jacob aren't in the match, that means effectively you could be adding a fourth person to this feud.
My God, are you adding Gunther?
Gunther kind of works because of the
It
history
does.
between Drew and Cody. And again, if you've got the three of them going, if Sammy qualifies because Cody and Jacob are more focused on each other, and then if Gunther wins because the three of them are all focused on each other and not this big Austrian across the ring from it, I think that would make him more of a heel because you didn't even deserve to win that. Like, you just happened
And
to be in
Gunther
the
would
ring to
take
get
it.
the
He would
pin.
cackle his way through it as well because
Yeah, and
he's
I
not
think it could
above.
work really well. But I kind of like that idea.
So just to be clear, you're pitching like another multi
Yeah,
person, but the multi person you're pitching is Drew McIntyre defending his title against Gunther, Cody, and Jacob Fatu inside Hell in a Cell.
I think if you're, I think
I
if
suddenly
you're
feel like
right-
we're playing
No, I feel like
2K.
if Gunther is added, it's not going to be in Hell in a Cell.
Step too far, but bloody hell.
I don't think you can beat Gunther if he's in the chamber. That's the problem.
No,
Um,
my one wondering with Gunther is that I mean I don't feel particularly excited about this beat, but it could go somewhere really exciting. Is that Gunther's also just recently taken out Dragon Lee? Does Dragon Lee make some sort of plucky run in and cost Gunther the qualification? And then the WrestleMania match could be Gunther versus Rey. And Rey Mysterio, who seems to get injured an awful lot at the moment, is he thinking time to wrap it up? And do you add another one almost straight away to Gunther's list of here's Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania, retire him?
I could picture a world where they want Javon Evans in the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, oh my God, he could jump off the top of that thing.
He would be incredible in the chamber. So if you were to use Ray, he could cost Gunther, which sets up a match between them two. But also, he's costing Dominic as well, which
I love it. Another little deadbeat dad moment.
Exactly. So I kind of like the idea of using Ray or Dragon Lee by extension to cause Gunther and Dominic not to qualify for the chamber. And then, Javon in the chamber. Oh, that would
You're
be.
talking about Javon in the chamber, like, did you see his cutter on Raw?
Just,
My
I don't know how he gets
God.
that high.
I don't know how you meet someone with that level of accuracy.
No.
And you've got Jey Uso, who bless him can't hit a super kick. And on the same show you've got Javon jumping across half the ring.
Yeah.
And properly catching him and taking him down for the cutter. Like I could watch that those slow-mo replays that they were showing. I could have just watched that.
I love watching Javon Evans. He's so much fun. The thing I was saying about Finn Balor about he makes you feel like a kid again when you watch it. That's what I get with Javon. It's just there's a joy in watching him.
Joy is the word, and yeah, I see that in like Io Sky. Like there's certain figures who you watch them and they're vibrating because they're just so goddamn happy that they're doing this dream job.
When Liv won the Rumble, I got that as well, and I remember just going, excuse my language, I just jumped out of my chair and went, "Fuck yeah!"
Though we still get those moments sometimes. We still get caught like that sometimes.
It's still real to me, damn it.
Damn it. I don't know, Daniel, if you've got anything else that you want to touch on that we haven't already this week.
I feel like we've switched and swapped a lot of subjects today.
We have, and we've built quite a lot
everywhere.
of WrestleMania already. We've got an awesome card shaping up.
How many people in the main event now? 8. Hell in a Cell street fight for the world title.
Fuck it, set the ring on fire. Have it be an Inferno match as well. Why not? So obviously there's only 2 of us this week, so we won't be having a quiz round, which means that you are now rivaling Jade Cargill for holding a title and just not defending it, but we won't invoke any clauses just yet.
Any comparison to Jade Cargill, I'm happy to take it.
I'm now getting a frankly very strange mental image, so thanks for that.
I will not be cosplaying as her for Halloween, I promise.
A Stockwell storm is coming. And on that note, that has been another episode of the Smark-Casual Wrestling Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Please do go and find us on all the social media platforms. Like us on YouTube, find us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Leave us a review, get in touch with us, and keep listening. But until we see you next time, thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Mike.
And a huge thank you for listening.